I think we agree.
Atlas's
actions were heroic. The question is, why were they necessary?
Why indeed.
Persona 5 Royal is such an odd kind of enhanced re-release, even more so than previous Atlus titles like Persona 4 Golden. It was always tough to narrow down exactly who these re-releases were meant for, players of the original or brand new players, but at least with the others there were multiple ways of purchasing the new content or they were released on new platforms. Persona 5 Royal, just like Persona 5, is a PlayStation 4 exclusive, at least for the time being, and Persona 5 itself was already a 100-hour Jrpg. So the question of who Persona 5 Royal is for really comes down to how much new content there is and how many changes there are. Is the experience fresh enough to warrant playing through this epically dense masterpiece again? Well, yes and no. Maybe? Probably yes. If you've never touched the original Persona 5, then obviously Persona 5 Royal is a must-play Jrpg. There's no reason to pick up the original over Royal, and the game is amazing. If you have played the original Persona 5 though, it's a little more complicated. See, there are a ton of changes in Royal, there's a lot of new content as well, but the bulk of the differences are subtle, at least until you get much closer to the end, or where the original ended anyway. Things like the classroom questions have been changed, there are new collectibles in the palaces, some confidant dialogue choices and events have been changed, and so on. You are probably only going to notice these changes if you played Persona 5 very recently, or if you're a super fan who did everything there was to do in the original. What this means is that a more casual fan might not get as much out of this as someone who already dumped 150 hours into the original. To a casual fan, you mightn't even notice any of the changes for tens of hours. It was actually a bit of a problem I ran into. I liked the original Persona 5, but I never finished it. I played it at launch but had to move on to something else just after beating Futaba's Palace, and I always had the intention of going back but never got around to it. When I started playing Persona 5 Royal, it didn't feel like there was anything really new. You only get a handful of insignificant scenes with the new major character for like the first 40 hours. But the reason it didn't feel very new was because I'd totally forgotten that a lot of the stuff I was experiencing wasn't in the original. The new palace collectibles, called Will Seeds, are integrated so seamlessly that they don't feel like they've been added solely in Persona 5 Royal. This is kind of a good thing, really. All the new content, all the changes, all the additions, they all blend so naturally into the game. Nothing feels vestigial or tacked on at the last minute. It's like the opposite of Final Fantasy 15 and all of its DLC. You start a new game in that now and you're just bombarded with random notifications and UI warnings telling you about all these new modes and new things you can access right now even though you've only been playing for 30 seconds. It's quite an accomplishment for Persona 5 Royal because there really are a lot of changes. New characters, new confidants, a new school semester, new double team skills, a grappling hook, expanded layouts and new collectibles in palaces, new areas of Tokyo to visit, boss fight upgrades with new phases and abilities, changes to mementos, new cutscenes and animated segments, the Thieves' Den where you can play cards, watch cutscenes, view achievements and that kind of thing, and the list just goes on and on. Persona 5 was a very long game, but Royal has got to be in contention for the title of largest JRPG ever made. Even if you do nothing extra and rush the story, doing pretty much only what is necessary, I don't think you could finish it in under 65 or 70 hours, and for most people this is going to be well over a 100-hour experience. Now, a JRPG being 100 hours, 120 hours, or in my case 154 hours, isn't automatically a good thing. It could actually be seen as a bad thing for a lot of people. I generally find the sweet spot for a story-driven RPG to be between 40 and 80 hours, with 40 to 50 hours being a main story-only experience with very little side content, and 60 to 80 hours including a sizable amount of optional content for those that are really enjoying it. Those figures aren't set in stone though, and it really comes down to the game and the story justifying its length. For the most part, Persona 5 Royal does justify being such a long game, though it isn't without its indulgences in excess. Much like Red Dead Redemption 2's strict adherence to realism, sometimes at its own detriment, Persona 5 Royal has an obsession with crafting a very specific experience. It's a very good thing that can sometimes be to its detriment. The reason the game is so long comes down to the structure of both the story and the gameplay. The game is meant to really drag you into the world and into the mind of the characters, and this means experiencing their regular lives alongside their secret lives as the Phantom Thieves. Where in a lot of RPGs you might start somewhere mundane like a school before moving out into a save the world type plot, in Persona 5 Royal you never stop being a guy in school. You never stop having a regular social life with its own obstacles and hardships. You really do get the sense that you have all of this on your plate and you do your best to juggle all these different responsibilities. Building social links with other characters called confidants doesn't happen over the course of a few cutscenes. You will need to go out and do a whole bunch of regular and sometimes very unorthodox things with them. If you like the confidant in question, all of this can seem really valuable and worthwhile. If you don't like them so much but feel obligated to build the relationship due to a specific reward, you might find yourself getting a little tired of it. So it's not really a strict adherence to realism, this game is very much a fantasy, but it is a strict adherence to this world and experiencing it in a realistic way that makes it such a gargantuan game. Of the 154 hours I played, I'd estimate that if I had the chance to trim that down with content I wasn't overjoyed with, I'd probably only knock it down by 10 to 20 hours. For some people that figure might be larger, and for others, lower. I know this video hasn't really turned out to be a review, which is why I haven't labelled it one. I've focused here on a few key areas hoping to answer the question of whether or not you should get Persona 5 Royal if you already played Persona 5. For everyone else, I think the game really speaks for itself. It is one of the most stylish, enjoyable, extensive JRPG experiences you will ever have, combining so many great mechanics from the genre, including monster collecting, social links, and an excellent turn-based battle system. Not without its flaws, it is still one of the best JRPGs ever made. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.